Sarah, thank you so much for being on Range of Change. You are an artist, a teacher, an activist, a thinker of big ideas. You are the most connected, interesting person I know. So, of course, I asked you to be on my podcast and talk to me about a pivotal moment of change. And in true Sarah fashion, you're like, I want to talk about resisting the pressure to change. And I'm like, brilliant. So thank you for being on the show. I do have to ask you, I ask everyone a starting question, some variation of, assuming it's a good one, how do you feel about surprises? Do you like surprises? Are you kind of like, oh, I could do without them?
I did have an awesome surprise party here on the avenue thrown by my husband. And it was a wonderful party.
and you enjoyed being surprised?
Oh, very much.
Wonderful.
It was really great.
That's funny.
And now he wants one.
Yes, clearly. So we are going to talk today about change and sort of finding the right moment to change. And I think that we're talking about your career, which you love, as an art teacher.
Yes, well, art teacher and sculptor. So I've been able to, and it's a lot of work. It's like having two jobs, but to create a balance between being a teacher and I'm working on a commission. So now I'm into it about 2.5 years on creating a monument for Mamaroneck. So it's great. It's a lot of work, though. But I also feel strongly about the service work that I do, especially along the river towns, working with asylum seekers and especially teens. So I want to do more of that. So, but I do, it is an interesting time in my life. So many of my friends are jumping on the retirement boat, casting off on wild trips and adventures. They're all playing lots of pickleball and chasing after grandchildren, which is wonderful. But I don't see myself retiring. I actually love what I do on a daily basis. So I'm going to just keep on doing it. Also just got a lot better, too. We have this beautiful new arts facility. I teach in a gorgeous studio. And so it's been a big adventure, kind of moving into a new space and all that entails.
Wow. Yeah. I think that I shouldn't say most, this is probably me just projecting a lot, but I don't know that most people get to say that they love what they do every day, especially with a full plate like yours. You have your commission projects and teaching projects and activism and volunteer work, and it's, I imagine, a lot. And I think there are many people that think of retirement as the opportunity to like slough off some of these responsibilities. But it sounds like you've built a life full of responsibilities that fit you like a glove.
I guess responsibilities or just work that I love. Certainly the responsibility of raising a child and caring for an ailing mother. I was that sandwich generation for many years. I had a great husband that helped. So I think we're definitely enjoying life after all of that.
Yeah.
And our son was, had medical issues. And, so we had, it was great, but also difficult, too, being a mother and then working and then caring for an ailing mother all at the same time. So we're beyond that now. So I think we're enjoying having time and space and ability to pursue our dreams as artists. We love collaborating with each other as well, and kind of being supportive of each other. So I think that will continue. We've been fantasizing about our next studio space together, and doing work together as well.
Oh, that's really neat.
But I kind of feel like also as an artist, I've found I love doing commission work, and I've been able to get commissions. And I prefer that to trying to hustle gallery shows. So that's been great. And I love to also work collaboratively. So now I'm really part of an artist team. And so we're working with a wonderful architect now. I have a project manager I'm in close touch with. Another artist has been helping with the project. So it's very interesting, as well as the good old Mamaroneck Historical Society.
Yeah.
So, and the town board. So it's interesting being part of the community and working with different members on a project. So, so that's great too. And my teaching, where I teach is such an interesting place. So it's really kind of like a college. I'm always learning new things all the time. The conversations are rich. It's a really caring place with people who are excited about what they're doing. So I'm lucky that way as well. It really is great.
Yeah, my goodness.
So it's an interesting place to be. Just the lunch table with historians and, people doing, literature and writing, and it's vibrant.
Yeah, that's a really special place to be. And I think it's interesting as a teacher, so much of it is you are directing. You have a lesson plan, and I imagine that there is the interaction. The students are bringing a lot. It isn't just, do what I say, but on a big commission project like this, you're working with so many different people. There's so many boundaries and different players. Does one of these appeal to you more, or is it really the complement of the two that's keeping it fresh?
Both. And I teach from my own practice as an artist. So it's been great. I've been doing a lot of relief sculpture and figurative sculpture with my kids, and that's what I'm working on the project. So I think that my own personal work in my studio enlivens what I do in the studio for sure. I mean, it's really kind of where my teaching comes from. My love of drawing, and also interest in learning. I especially love exploring different media and ideas. So I can do that in the classroom, and then when I'm in my studio, I'm very focused. So I love that as well. But the kids are great, and it's wonderful. I teach 5th grade on mostly 9th grade, and then I have also some older students. And to watch them grow is fabulous for so many years. It's really neat.
What a gift.
So, and then I have a couple of kids that are in their 30s, and they come back and help with the kids I teach that are asylum seekers. So they come back with their language skills, and it's great to be with them to continue.
Wow, you are such a big part of their lives, and they're such a big part of your life. I can see why the prospect of giving that up would seem crazy.
Well, it's just I enjoy, so I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing. But it is interesting feeling the conversation's always coming up, when are you retiring, what's happening? And it's like, I'm continuing. I like what I do. I have another friend who's a doctor, and he's just said he's going to keep on working till,
Yeah. So, you hear
it too.
You hear the conversations like at a certain age when everyone's like, when are you going to have kids? When are you going to have kids? Like they're those generational conversations. I didn't realize that when are you going to retire might have that same flavor of expectation and a little bit of peer pressure, or is that the experience that you're having?
Yes, definitely. Yep. So far, yeah. So I also feel my own questions about being, after especially caring for so many elder friends, and our parents. Time is limited, and so how am I going to use that about doing things I really care about? So that's an interesting question that I'm thinking about. For sure. What, as David Brooks would say, what's my second mountain that I plan to climb? So,
it's interesting because it sounds like you've climbed a really great first mountain, like just in terms of looking at your life and you have a job that you love, you have a community that you love and you're enmeshed in and you're enriching with your art. And like, it's a real success story of how to build a life. That's not David Brooks. That's somebody else. It's Arthur C. Brooks, I think. But it is a real testament to this is how you do it right. This is how you end up with a life that you love so much that you don't want to give any part of it up. But yeah, thinking about that next mountain, that next chapter, is there something else that I am not yet doing, even though I'm doing so many things I love?
Mm-hmm. Or just to kind of shift, I could definitely see doing more work with the refugee and immigrant teens.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see how that develops. But I do love it. So
Yes.
and it's really great. You know, the arts are so fun, especially ceramics, and it's such a great way for the community to come together. And you don't need language; you can just work together. And I've seen that happen over and over. So I enjoy seeing that as well. Seeing people coming together, sharing an activity, and getting to know each other a little bit. So,
Yeah.
For kids to find their confidence. So there's a lot of aspects to it, how the arts enrich our lives. So
Yeah. Because
it's a real need. It's interesting seeing how kids are hungry for it,
Mm-hmm.
especially kids who don't have that opportunity. They just really, really enjoy it.
Yeah.
Especially ceramics. It's interesting. It's in our DNA as makers.
For sure. Do you think ceramics is the most accessible for someone that doesn't have a background in art?
I would say most people. Drawing is actually kind of intellectual, can be.
Mm-hmm.
Putting a pen or pencil to paper can be intimidating, but clay is so inviting.
Tactile. Yeah, you just get your hands in it.
Yes, yeah. And again, I think, it's one of the first materials as humans, and that we started working with. People all over the world make pottery and animals and all kinds of stuff. So it's interesting. Half the Met Museum, the first floor, is mostly ceramics, what we know about other cultures.
Yeah.
So it's very interesting. I love it all.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, that's very interesting. Like you said, it's in our DNA. It's something that we intrinsically want to do. We want to make, we want to play, we want to express something from inside, outside in this tangible way. And you are exceedingly skilled at this, and you have honed your craft and your ability to teach, which is, an entirely different skill set. And together, I can only imagine how rewarding it is to touch so many lives with this, this amazing gift that everybody intrinsically wants to do.
I do love it. And clay, too, is very communal by nature. And so I love that aspect of it, that it's really people working together. Painting and drawing can be a very kind of intellectual, solitary activity. Not always, but it tends to be. Mm-hmm. But ceramics tends to be very communal. Sometimes too much. I have to get the kids to focus, but it's very fun.
That's interesting.
So,
because I did ceramics for a while, and it was a communal, like it was all of us. We each had our own wheel, but we would work together. We would compare and contrast. We'd be back there together dipping. And it's a great, like I hadn't thought about it as a communal activity because one person, one wheel, just like one person, one easel. But there is a communal aspect in my experience as well that just doesn't translate to other art. Even like the sippin' paints, because that's the extent of my artistic ability. It's even though you're together and you're drinking wine, there's very little chit chat. Like it is just like your brain and the easel.
Yes, yeah. I think so. So also, potters love to eat and make pots.
That's
and
why, that's
so
why
it's that's also often part of it is potlucks and sharing. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's fun and cross culture. It's great. So there's So
Nice. So I have to ask, I imagine that your retired friends are traveling, like you said, playing pickleball. Is there something that you think might be out there for you that's calling, maybe just a mountaintop in Switzerland or a pickleball court in Hawthorne?
well, for me, spending more time with friends, and so that could involve travel. Sure, I mean that would be my number one.
Yeah.
I mean, there's places in the world Kurt and I would like to go, but time with friends for sure, and more time. I guess making my own work as well. Mm-hmm.
Nice. And I know you said that you're being sort of reflective and thoughtful at this point as you think about your next mountain and what lies ahead. What does that practice look like for you?
So,
just
sure.
yeah, I'm sorry. Like if you are reflecting or sort of thinking about in a thoughtful planning way, what does the next decade look like? Do you have a process? Do you journal?
That's interesting. Yeah, that's a good question. I guess, I'm kind of looking around and seeing what people are doing. Mm-hmm. I do feel the need to take a retreat, actually, just to step outside my home and just go away for a little block of time.
Oh, nice.
And just really be spiritual and reflective. I don't know.
Oh, wow. Is that a practice that you have observed over the years from time to time?
No, but I feel the need for it now, for sure. I mean, we're very active in our church, but I could definitely see taking some time to just go kind of meditate and be quiet and step away, literally just step away. So we'll see when that comes about.
Oh, that's exciting.
So I think that would be helpful, just to turn off the noise.
Well, yeah, I mean, you've built a busy life, which is, again, I think an obvious element of a successful life. But yeah, it must be hard to carve out a little bit of time for yourself if you want to have, an extended, thoughtful period.
I think so, sure. Mm-hmm. But in terms of, I don't really journal necessarily. I think conversations with some key people are helpful. Mm-hmm.
And how are your retired friends doing? Do they seem happier?
They're all adjusting. I think they like what they're doing. They're happy.
Good.
I think most are really pretty busy being caregivers with children, grandchildren.
Yeah.
And some with their parents as well. And doing volunteer work is great. So, but I don't think that would satisfy me right now.
Yeah.
So I guess I'm lucky. It's funny. It's kind of like I have what I need, like realizing I have what I need. I'm pretty happy doing what I'm doing.
Yeah.
So, and my other kind of motto is it's good to be busy. So I like that too.
Yeah. I don't know that most people get to have that moment where they can just say, I'm really satisfied. Like, I have what I need, to use your exact phrasing. What does that feel like for the many of us who have never known that feeling?
I think it comes from gratitude,
Mm-hmm.
a place of gratitude, and kind of realizing, being grateful for who I'm with and what I have and the work I do. So,
yeah. So I'm curious, as you were sort of building the life that you have, did you build this intentionally? Did you know that you wanted to be an art teacher? Was this a plan enacted, or did you sort of find your way and then end up finding and building, like, at each step of the process, the life you wanted?
That's interesting. A little bit of both. I mean, I had started doing pottery when I was a teenager, actually in Larchmont with Dick Rising Pottery. And I had a wheel and the whole bit, in high school. And then that I was able to start teaching, doing camps and teaching ceramics. That's where I met my husband.
No
Teaching.
kidding.
And so I was really, also I had to explore in college. I felt like I knew I wanted to go to art school, but I didn't feel ready. I really felt a need to do social work.
Mm.
So I felt that was a conflict, being arts felt selfish. So I studied liberal arts and worked with the coal miner arts support group. Actually, I wrote my thesis about coal miners who were doing union organizing through murals, portable murals.
Oh, wow.
And so I worked in West Virginia some summers doing flood recovery work in coal mining areas that were hit by floods due to strip mining.
Yeah.
So that's where I saw social work and artwork coming together. And so one thing, and then I was a VISTA volunteer for the Federation of Southern Cooperatives. So after college, I went down south and worked with like 15 cooperative arts organizations throughout the South, and helped them organize and sell their work. Most were doing, there was the Freedom Quilting Bee, who's famous now, not because of me, but
maybe because of you.
Michelle Obama was wearing, one of their patterns on her formal portrait. So they are highly regarded now. Great people. But most were doing like making clothing, or some different things. So it was good for me to see that experience doing that. And then when I came back to New York, I did get involved trying to organize in the South Bronx some handicraft cooperatives. But then I also realized my need to be an artist. It made sense to me then. So I had to kind of do a journey.
Yeah.
Way. But I love the outreach that the arts can do. And I feel pretty compelled to continue. So it was a little bit of both, knowing that I love teaching. I was always teaching all through high school and college summers, and even when I went to grad school, I was teaching in the city, 92nd Street Y, Craft Students League, and so that was fun as well. Great.
Yeah.
Great communities.
Yeah, I admire those who can teach. I originally wanted to be a teacher, and I don't have the innate ability for it. I'm sure that I could have learned if I had more patience than I had at that time. But I love that you found, your intense desire to be an artist, but which you were, sort of like, it's selfish, and your innate love of teaching and your desire to do social work and social justice, and found a way to merge them through your journey. I mean, like you said, you had to sort of take a path that brought you to the place where you're like, yes, I need to be an artist. And it seems like it wouldn't have succeeded any other way, but you just listened to your instincts, I imagine, and found your journey, and it found you in this amazing life that you love.
Yes, I had great support. My mother was very encouraging and supportive. So, my family was definitely behind me in my journey. So that, and I feel in a way I'm carrying on her legacy by working with the kids from Abbott House. So she worked with kids from actually Children's Village for many years. So that was part of it. I also thought for many years that, early on, that I should be teaching college art. You come out of grad school and it's like, I got to be a college teacher.
Yeah.
Because there's such a hierarchy in terms of teaching. And so I taught, it was fun to teach a little bit of adjunct at FIT, but I found I love teaching high school, and now I'm teaching middle school as well. And kids are very interesting people, and to be part of their lives and development has been fascinating. So I'm thrilled to be doing what I'm doing. So,
yeah. I know what you're talking about with sort of that hierarchy of prestige. Teaching at college sounds prestigious, even though sometimes, being an adjunct can be incredibly demanding, not particularly paid well. Like the reality.
Isn't that the truth? It was such a hustle and pressure and backbiting. It was a terrible environment to be in.
Yeah.
It was exciting to be in the fashion district.
Yeah.
But the pay was terrible. It was all reputation. Anyway, it was interesting to kind of dip my toes in that water. So,
yeah. And to have that experience, because then you found out, I tried the prestige, and what I really love is working with this age group. And yeah, I mean, who's more interesting than kids at that age? Like grad students?
I find them too. But I often that's interesting that I often, people are like, oh, you like kids? It's like, I love kids. So, yeah. And to see, I've been teaching now, I guess this is my 26th year at this one school. And kids have changed. Technology has changed. Our world has changed. And the change has come quickly. And so we're all trying to adjust and, interesting times.
Absolutely, yeah.
So,
I feel like that's a whole different conversation, because I'd love to.
This is the year of the whole cell phones, and do we ban them? And how are kids, going through COVID with kids? I taught outdoors. In the wintertime was interesting.
Oh, my gosh.
So,
Up here in the wintertime outdoors?
Well, I saw New York City. There's some great photos of our teachers outside during the Spanish flu. The kids had their woolly coats on. They were outside. So we set up tents, and we were on campus for much of it, and I taught outdoors.
Good for you.
Windows wide open, We're like, okay, put on your jackets. Here we go. The kids preferred it. Very interesting, too, how kids learn, and being out in nature, they paid more attention.
Really?
It's interesting. I learned a lot. So I love that, too. We're always learning, but kids are changing. And our culture, it's very interesting times.
Absolutely. Would you say that recently it's been very interesting times, or would you say each 5-10 years has its own interesting twist?
I think this year has its own interesting twist. It's not even a 5-year span. Character counts, and we teach that.
Yeah.
I'm teaching my curriculum, and all of a sudden it sounds subversive, and it's just history.
Yeah.
So it's very interesting times, and it changes on a dime. Just like COVID, all of a sudden we were, teaching on Zoom. We were trying to figure out Zoom in a week, how to teach on Zoom. We all kind of did. And the kids help you, they're like, Miss Coble.
Turn the mute off.
Yeah, there you go. Hysterical, yeah.
I love it. And you're here for it.
So,
it's wild times, and you're like, I'm sticking around. I want to see it.
And yes, absolutely. Absolutely, yes. Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
Sarah, thank you so much for joining me today.
Well,
this was so much fun.
This is great you're doing this work.